Hi everybody and welcome to week 2 of our bake along, and this week I thought we could be a little bit fancy and try to make some fruit scones. Now these are perfect for an afternoon tea or a little tea party that you are having with your family. So I thought we'd have a go at making scones and we'll see how we get on. So the first step, everybody, is you need to weigh out your 350 grams of self-raising flour. So weigh out your 350, it needs to be self-raising rather than plain to give it that little bit of rise. And don't worry too much about sieving your flour. Flour nowadays is quite fine anyway, so don't worry about sieving it. So weigh out 350 grams of flour, pop it in a nice big mixing bowl. Sure, there's some excellent weighing skills going on out there. Okay, once you have done that, you need to get yourselves a teaspoon because you will need a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. Now a quarter is half and half again, so not half a teaspoon, half of a teaspoon. So that's kind of just a little bit of salt basically, a tiny little bit of salt. I'm going to go for, or maybe this much. Can you see that? A little bit of salt, and pop that in with your flour. Lovely. And next you need 1 whole teaspoon of baking powder. So get yourself some baking powder. And 1 teaspoon. Now just a level teaspoon is fine. It doesn't need to be a heaped one. And sprinkle that in with your flour and salt. Lovely. Okay, now with your nice clean hands, you can just give that a little bit of a mix. Mix that in there. Lovely. Okay, next job everybody. You need to weigh out your butter. Now I have gone for quite hard butter this time because we're going to be sort of rubbing the butter in with the flour, so it works better if your butter isn't too soft and melty, if it's quite hard block of butter. So you will need 85 grams of butter. So have a go at weighing that out now everybody. So it might be a bit of guesswork to begin with. Pop a bit on your scales and see how much you've got. Oh, I'm at about 50 there, so I just need a little bit more butter. So you're wanting 85 grams of butter. Lovely. Okay, and once you've got that everybody, you're going to weigh out, not weigh out, you've already weighed it out, you're going to cut up your butter into cubes. Okay, so just chop it up to sort of square shapes, or cubes if you're very good at your 3D shapes. Again, if you're using a very sharp knife, do make sure you've got a grown-up near you to check that you're doing it safely, or maybe to do it for you. So chop up your butter. My butter is sticking to my knife. So they don't need to be perfect cubes, just chop them up so we've got a nice big surface area of butter, so that will help us to rub it into our flour later on. Okay, once you've got your butter, pop it all into the bowl with the flour. And now roll up your sleeves because this is the hands-on bit. So you're going to need to rub your butter and flour together and really rub those cubes of butter until they're not even there anymore. So you're wanting to have kind of like breadcrumbs. So this might take a while, so you warm up that butter with your hands, scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. So it's all in breadcrumb kind of consistency. Okay, now that might take you a little while to do, but that's fine. Just make sure you're really rubbing that butter in with that flour. And if you think you're almost there, if you just get your bowl and just lift it slightly and shake it from side to side, not too much, not all over yourselves, shake it from side to side, that will kind of sift out, or down to the bottom all the little bits, so all the big bits left in your bowl will kind of rise to the top. So if you've got any big bits of butter left in there that you haven't rubbed in, they should rise to the top. And you can just grab those and make sure they're all rubbed in. So just double check that you've got all your big bits of butter rubbed in. And then you're ready for the next stage. So after that, you will need to get some caster sugar, and you will just need 3 tablespoons, so bigger spoons than a teaspoon. You need to get yourself 3 tablespoons of caster sugar, and you're just going to put it into this floury, buttery bowl. So 3 tablespoons. Again, just level tablespoons are fine. They don't need to be big heaped ones, and just sprinkle that in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then just again with your hands, just kind of move that all around, mix together your breadcrumb flour mixture and your sugar. So it's all kind of combined and you can't really tell what's what anymore. So mix that all in and you should have a lovely white crumbly mixture that looks a bit like that. Super job, well done everybody. Right, so next you are going to get a jug and you will need to measure out 175 millilitres of milk. So with your jug again, some excellent measuring skills going on, I'm sure. So 175 millilitres, that's somewhere between 150 and 200, it's that bit in between. So I'm sure everyone's jugs are different. Just measure out your milk, lovely, and then you're going to pop it in the microwave just for about 30 seconds, not for very long at all, just to make it a little bit warm. Okay, once your milk is a little bit warm, you're now going to get your teaspoon again, because you're going to measure out with your teaspoon 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, so carefully does it here, everybody. So 1 teaspoon, there we go, whoops, and pop it in with the warm milk. Okay, once you've done that, I'm just going to pop my lid back on there because I do have a habit of spilling things. There we go. Right, now you just need a squeeze of lemon juice. So I'm going to use, I have a leftover lemon in my fridge, so that's useful. If not, you can just use a bottle of lemon juice and just squeeze a little bit of lemon juice into your jug as well. So just 1 squeeze of lemon juice. Lovely. Okay then everybody. Right, so the next step, you are going to need to make in your bowl of flour and butter and sugar mixture, you're going to need to make a well. Now what that means is with your hands, just kind of scoop out a little bit just to kind of to the side, so you've got sort of circle in the middle. So I'm just going to kind of get my fingertips in there and push the flour around the edges. So you've kind of got a bit of a hole in the middle, that's a well. So make a well. Okay, lovely. I'll try and show you what I've done. There we go. Can you see? Bit of a well. Lovely. And now everybody, you're going to tip your warm, milky, vanilla-y mixture into the well. Okay, so pour that in gently. Lovely, that might just about spill over the top, it might not, doesn't matter too much. Okay, and then with a spoon, you are going to just kind of combine all of that together. So kind of bring that flour over the top of your well. Your milk might spill out a bit, but don't worry too much. And with your spoon, you're going to just quickly bring all of that together into a dough. Okay, and this is the point where if you are using sultanas, if you've chosen to make fruit scones rather than plain scones, you need to weigh out 100 grams of sultanas and then pop those into your bowl as well. And again, with your spoon, just kind of combine all of that together, your dough and your sultanas, until it's all combined. Okay, now you need to flour your surface. So get a handful of flour and just sprinkle it over the clean area of your kitchen that you're going to put your dough. So flour your worktop, and then make sure your hands have got a bit of flour on as well, so that your dough doesn't stick to your hands. And now you're going to bring your dough out of the bowl. Now your dough might be a little bit wet, that's fine if it's a little bit sticky and sloppy, and you're just going to bring your dough out onto your floured surface. So making sure not to leave any of it behind. Dip it out onto your worktop. Once you've got it out to your worktop, you're going to sort of roll it around in the flour a little bit, and you're just going to sort of roll it around. It's called kneading. We're just going to knead it a couple of times until your dough is just a little bit more smooth and combined. So when you're kneading, often we knead with things like dough to make bread, but you knead with this part. I'm going to try and show you, but I've got dough all over my hands. With this part here of your hand. So just bring it round and push out with that part of your hand. So again, scoop it in, push it out with that bottom bit of your hand. And you don't need to over knead it. I'm not going to work it too much, just a couple of times, just to bring it all together into a kind of smooth dough. Okay, lovely. We're going to leave that for a moment because we now need to put our ovens on so that they are nice and hot, ready for the scones to go in. And you're also at the same time going to put your baking tray in. Now, whenever I've tried this, they always work a little bit better if your baking tray is hot before you put the scones on to cook. So you're going to turn your oven on to 200 degrees Celsius if you have a fan oven. So mine is a fan oven, I'm going to put it on at 200 degrees. If your oven isn't a fan oven, pop it on at 220 degrees, should be fine. Okay, and then pop your baking tray empty, just as it is, in the oven as well. Okay, right. Now with your dough, you're going to kind of flatten it out a little bit, just sort of pat it round into a sort of a circle shape. But with a ruler, if you have one, or using your best guesstimate if you don't, you're going to try and make it about 4 centimetres tall. That's how tall we want our scones when they go into the oven. So I'm not going to be too particular here. 4 centimetres is quite high. So I'm just going to kind of pat it out until it's roughly 4 centimetres tall still. Okay, now with your cutter, so you can use sort of a 5 centimetre, 6 centimetre cutter in diameter. You are going to, again, pop it in the flour just a little bit so it doesn't stick to the dough. And this is where we're going to cut our scones. Now we're going to plunge our cutter into our scone dough, one at a time, so kind of quickly, just to cut that shape, wiggle it around a bit to free up that dough, and take your scone shape out, pop it to the side. Lovely. Okay, and again, make another scone shape. Wiggle it around. There we go. Okie dokie. You might want just a little bit more flour on that cutter as well. Okay, and you could probably just get one more scone out of there. So wiggle it around a bit. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to sort of combine our dough mixture together again so we can cut out some more scone shapes. So bring it back together, pat it down a bit. Again, make sure there's flour on there so it doesn't stick too much. And just like you did before, although this time with a little bit less dough mixture, you're going to flatten it out to around 4 centimetres high and make some more scone shapes. Okay, super job everybody. Now you need to get your baking tray back out of your oven, so be very, very careful when you do this. Use your oven gloves. Ask an adult to help you if you need to. And we're just going to very carefully transfer your scones onto your baking tray. So get yourself something to help you if you need to, and just gently manoeuvre your scones onto your tray. Be careful not to touch the tray because it is hot. Lovely, they're looking great everybody. So your next job now is you need to get yourself your egg. You are going to crack your egg into a small bowl or a glass or a cup, whatever you can find. And with a fork, you're just going to whisk your egg up a little bit. So crack that into your cup. Use your fork to sort of mix it all together. Okay, this is for everybody your egg glaze on top. So if you have a glazing brush, do use one. If not, you can use your hands, it doesn't matter too much. And you're just going to sort of wash the top of your scones with the mixed up egg. Now just a little bit. You don't want too much, otherwise you will make scrambled eggs on top of your scones, which, you know, might not be that nice. So wash the top of your scones with your egg. If you don't have an egg, or you don't want to use an egg for this, just popping a little bit of milk on top should sort of do the same job. But this makes them nice and golden when they come out of the oven. And once you've done that, they're ready to go into the oven. Okay, those will go in for just 10 minutes. So make sure you have a look at the clock when you put them in and wait 10 minutes for your scones to be ready, which is the perfect amount of time to do some washing up. In the oven, just check them. They might need a couple of minutes longer, but if they look golden brown and risen, then you can take them out of the oven. And when they're done, you can top them with your favourite jam and some clotted cream. Now it's up to you whether you put your jam on first and then your cream, or your cream on first and then your jam. And now you are ready to host your perfect afternoon tea party. Thank you so much for joining me again on this bake along. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you enjoy these. Bye.